with the situation that you are. This has been very, very debatable, even internationally, by private companies, CEOs, the chief executive of big corporations, awarding themselves hefty bonuses at the close of a trading period. And this has been, condemned. I think most people have abolished those kinds of, incentives. So incentive is fine, but you cannot take from what you have had. First of all, those taxes they claim to get bonuses on. Leave people destroyed. They have destroyed businesses trying to collect taxes from people because, unfortunately, our people don't have, the literacy to manage books of accounts.
Yes.
On the basis of which they can make tax returns. But even those who actually make tax returns, they are trashed by Revenue Authority. They go ahead and capture money from them, force them to pay money, ruining companies, ruining lives of people. And then, having done that, you award yourself
a bonus.
A bonus for destroying people's lives. So I think, whereas the principle of bonuses is well meant.
Doctor, it shouldn't work for government, really. You're getting a government salary. You're okay already, really. And we are a poor country. You can't
so I'm just talking about the principle.
Yes.
Even for government people, the principle could work. That if you achieve this target in your work, you will be rewarded as an incentive.
In fact, that was the deal. The reward was 11 billion. Now the question is, how does it climb to 14 billion?
No, even the 11 billion should be questioned. You see, it's not just the 14. Even if they rewarded themselves 11 billion. Now I'm saying that in the kind of context in which we are, the state of the economy they are taxing. You see, if you incentivize people to go and literally rob taxpayers on account of wanting to hit a target, you are already, a problem. So it's not, you see, the society in which they are collecting tax is not the ordinary society that is elite, that have books of accounts, that have tax returns filed normally, that can challenge can challenge an assessment by a tax officer. Most of our people don't have those competencies.
Yeah. When they give you, just accept what they've told you.
So the incentivizing people to collect. So my own sense is a bonus in our own kind of tax environment, incentivizing people to do more than they are required to do, can be very harmful. And certainly if the incentives are big, the harm becomes even bigger. And so it's something that I think in our circumstances is not quite helpful. I think there should be other ways of incentivizing than monetary incentivization. Maybe people can be promoted, maybe people can be given all kinds of other non-pecuniary direct pecuniary interest.
It feels like Ugandans they don't believe in those incentives that you're trying to say. Because that was the same story with the traffic gentleman. Like, why don't you just give him a higher rank rather than saying, let's deploy you in parliament?
Yes, so we are talking about a society which has, I've been saying over and over, needs a complete reset. You know, you cannot fix what is wrong in Revenue Authority alone without fixing the whole system within which revenue collection is being undertaken. Because we have a totally, corrupt system itself. The whole system is a system of corruption, and it's very difficult to, correct one aspect of one organization. It's not. We need a reset to recast how the state and the public affairs are run in this country.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Dr. Kizza Besigye. We have 55 minutes past 12 p.m. I think in the Americans they say 5 minutes to 1 p.m. I have a couple of messages. Let me read them. There is Hilary Arinaitwe. Thank you for watching. You're saying you're watching happily from Rukungiri. Then there is John Bosco Atuheire. You say, welcome, doctor. Then there is Ayeba Ziwe Alex. I love the show. There's Kat's Chosen Norman. I'm the first. Isabel Elizabeth Namutosi. You're watching your role model. Thank you so much for watching. To Musime Robert. You say you're live and clear. Then there is Wider Joe. You're saying I'm live. And now God is with us. Then there is Patty K. Our hero, Dr. KB. Thanks for keeping the light. Yes, there are a couple of messages, but thank you so much. Most of you are commenting. What you can do is continue sending these messages. If you have a question, if you have a query, feel free to just send it here so that we can continue with the conversation. I'm still Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and this show is called The Interface Show. Now, it's time we take a break. When we come back, we start the conversation of the National Coffee Amendment Act. What does this mean to you, the Ugandan? Why is it that the opposition is really against this particular bill? And of course, what is the mind behind the Minister Frank Tumwebaze? And the issue of coffee has been contentious. A few years ago, you remember Epineti. Now, Pineti is no more, but there are still other issues that are being raised. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. This is Digitalk TV. We are streaming live on YouTube, but we are also on Facebook at The Alternative Uganda at Digitalk TV. If you have a question, any query, send through your query or question. I'm going to be reading it after this short commercial break. I'm still with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. This is The Interface.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kizza Besigye every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. real issues, real talk.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from that short commercial break. You're watching The Interface, and I would like to thank you so much. If you're just joining us, this particular show happens every Friday. We start at 12 to 2 p.m. with retired Dr. Kizza Besigye, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. We talk about a lot of things that are happening in Uganda, but we don't have these conversations just to critique and ridicule. We want to have constructive engagement. Things that are going to create a better Uganda for ourselves, but also for the generation to come. I think in Uganda we often forget that this country has been here for a long time. That means we are the ones who grow and live, but Uganda always stays. So if we can have a better conversation on how Uganda can be good for our children and our grandchildren, I think that is something that will be pertinent and good for all of us. Now on to the new bill. It's called the National Coffee Amendment Bill, and I want to just read a few provisions for you, my viewers, so that you know. But the main issue about this particular bill is that it's going to give the rights, or it's going to dissolve the National Coffee Development Authority, an entity that has been managing coffee all over the country, and it's going to give all its functions and rights to the Ministry of Agriculture. So that means it's not going to be run by an agency, but it's going to be now in the hands of the ministry, which actually means in the hands of government. I'm going to just read a few of the insights here. The remedies, or what you call the proposed remedies. One, enable the mainstreaming and rationalization of the functions of the Coffee Development Authority into the ministry responsible for agriculture. Now that is the main thing, as you can see on your screen. That is A. Then there is B, there is facilitate efficient and effective service delivery by clearly delineating the mandates and functions of the ministry in relation to other government agencies and departments, thereby avoiding duplication of mandates and functions, which was also some of the things that they used to talk about, why they are rationalizing the government agencies. Then C, promote coordinated administrative arrangements, policies, and procedures. You can go and continue reading this. Some of the objectives, without prejudice to the general effect of subsection 1, the following objectives shall be deemed to fall under this particular amendment. A, the merging, mainstreaming, and rationalization of government agencies, commissions, authorities, and public expenditure, thereby inter alia relieving the government of the financial drain on its resources and the burden of wasteful administration and expenditure. Then there's also the facilitation of efficient and effective service delivery. So all these things literally want to make a better service delivery. Maybe lastly, I can also read on the purpose of amendment, which is the main contention here. The purpose for amendment of the National Coffee Act, which was passed in 2020, is to mainstream the functions of the Coffee Development Authority into the ministry responsible for agriculture, and 2, abolish the Coffee Development Authority and transfer the functions of the Coffee Development Authority to the ministry responsible for agriculture. Now, this is something that many legislators are not agreeing with. My question is, why? But let me start with you, Doctor. Doctor, what do you think about this new bill that is being tabled in Parliament? The first reading is already done.
Well, the rationalization of public bodies in this country, as you may know, has had all kinds of fluctuations. What is rational today is said not to be rational tomorrow, and what is rational tomorrow, the other day is irrational. So rationalization has more or less lost meaning in that regard. Because when the NRM junta assumed the power of state in Uganda in 1986, most were in the hands of government, either corporations
Yes.
or government departments.
Yes.
And, you know, in the case of coffee, we had Coffee Marketing Board,
Yes.
which was responsible for marketing, and we had coffee cooperatives, you know, agricultural cooperatives that were engaged in the processing, in the development of coffee farms and processing of coffee up to the time that it would be marketed.
Yes, sir.
All these were destroyed. The cooperatives were broken down. The marketing body was broken down. And actually, before the marketing body was broken down, I had a personal contention with Mr. Museveni regarding the management of the marketing body itself. Because at that time, he was introducing one of his relatives. That's when this family, the family capture, had started. Coffee Marketing Board was one of the first victims of family capture, because he brought a relative to become the chief marketer of Uganda's coffee in a very opaque manner.
Yes, sir.
Which raised concerns for many people and was brought to my attention, and I brought it to the attention of Mr. Museveni. He was, of course, very unhappy with that presentation, and I think that's a part of where our contradictions started.
So that's around 1999, 1998 there?
No, much earlier. This
Wow.
was much earlier. I think this was 1989.
Wow.
Yes, much earlier. At that time, I was still in government.
Yes, sir.
And so, and of course, as I have said, you know, they said rationalization, all these things were abolished, and eventually then they said now to rationalize production, let's have another parastatal. Because the real rationalization was abolition of parastatals. But UCDA now came in creation of new parastatals. So a parastatal was formed in the form of UCDA, in the form of, in the case of cotton, and the Cotton Development Authority, also headed by a relative of
Mr. Museveni.
Mr. Museveni, and so on.
Wow.
So,
Yes, sir.
but marketing remained completely private, and you'll find that the family continued to have now a major control over the coffee marketing, private now. So what is happening in the coffee industry should be traced to the capture of the Ugandan economy by the family.
Oh.
Yes. Not just coffee, but the Ugandan economy by the family. And you see, the economy is at the heart of politics.
Yeah.
Whoever controls the economy,
The money.
controls the politics.
Exactly.
And Buganda, you know, coming to what was, I think, sipping through the debate in Parliament.
Then before, let's play it for our people to watch it, because some people may not have watched that particular video. Let's watch this video from Anita Among as they're talking about the contentious bill. Okay, Doctor, maybe
don't
let's
seem-
let's continue as our producer is working on getting.
So
that
I was
video.
saying that, you see, part of the reason why Buganda was a powerful kingdom
Yes, sir.
and later an influential, very influential part of Uganda was the economy of Buganda, which in a large measure rested on coffee growing,
Yes, sir.
processing, and
Selling.
marketing.
Yes.
And, you know, of course, eventually that coffee growing spread beyond Buganda. Myself, and I am, you know, emotional attached to coffee
Yes, sir.
because my family was a coffee family. My father was a coffee grower and a coffee trader. You know, one of the very early indigenous coffee traders in Western Uganda. And so I grew up in coffee stores and coffee farming. I knew how to prune coffee when I was still a child, how to, you know, fertilize coffee gardens, how to harvest and dry coffee and so on. And as I have said, it was a source of wealth for
Yes.
many people, even in our region.
Yes.
In the Kigezi region.
Yes, sir.
And certainly in Ankole, where there was the Banyankole Kweterana as a powerful corporation. And, you know, so the politics of coffee, to my mind, is related to the power politics of the country.
Yes.
And I think there is a continuing attempt to control this very critical resource of the country. And, you know, you see, it's not just about, you know, who is organizing, but there are, for example, elements in the Coffee Act, like licensing people to be registered, to be licensed, to farm,
Yes.
to produce, and to be known who is producing what, and some of these may appear even progressive at the face of it, but with people that have ulterior political motives, they must be looked at with a very, very critical eye.
Or it's just you having a mistrust, really, as a person, and Ugandans.
You see, the
generally,
mistrust
government.
is not, you know,
Imagined.
just coming out of the blue. I have told you what has happened all along.
Yeah.
That what was coffee marketing board for everybody is now a family marketing board. We are talking about Penet. Penet actually came a long time ago. He's already here, only extending tentacles. And now going into who, because if you license me to function, it means you control also many. You can de-license me. You have the power to say you don't meet my standards. Stop, and that's those are incremental steps, introduced ostensibly with good intention, but putting more and more control in the hands of predatory people who have already demonstrated that they want everything for themselves. And that's why, you see, regardless of whether the Coffee Development Authority remains or doesn't, just like I have said, regardless of which organs are functioning, whether in agriculture, whether where, at the end of the day, as long as the predatory system is there, which is not accountable to people, which acts with impunity, as long as it is there, which destroyed all these things that I'm talking about without accountability to us, the end result will remain the same. That's why, okay, you can have a debate around what is happening in Parliament. For me, I'm not excited about what is happening in Parliament. Whichever way it goes does not in a major way shift the dangers that the coffee farmer faces. It doesn't. And
when you take that, I remember when it was the case of Pineti, they wanted all farmers to sell to a particular person who was Pineti in that time, and of course he would price how much they would procure the coffee at, and that really can confirm what you were saying, that someone wants to have control over it. And I remember Mr. Museveni coming out to say that it wasn't Pineti, Pineti was mine.
You see, it will, and I'm saying it will happen, whether whatever happens to you, to the Coffee Development Authority or not, that process of family control of Ugandan wealth is already deeply entrenched and will continue. And that will not be resolved by what is going on in Parliament, unfortunately. Yes, there is some excitement about this and the statement indeed.
In fact, let's play that statement.
By the speaker.
Okay. Mr. Producer, if you can give me that particular video of Annette and Among as they were trying to debate this particular contentious bill. This video was recorded yesterday. So let's watch this particular clip.
Huh? Yeah, we do. We have the numbers. We do. We shall test this thing. Because we already had, this side about 80 people who have voted Nay. So, and this was about 130.
They better make sure that they don't bagana. Mobilize people. Let them mobilize. Tell those of Nani.
Okay, thank you. We did not hear how it concluded because the sound was muted at that time in Parliament. But what we could hear is people talking about the Baganda. And by the time she was finishing the statement, we muted that. But can we call this tribalism? Is there something wrong with Anita Among saying such a statement?
Quite obviously, I don't have as I have said, as you have said, I don't have the full picture of where the Baganda were being characterized as such. But without doubt, in the context of the division that was there in the Parliament at the time, it would give a connotation that those on one side of the lobby were the Baganda who should be mobilized against.
And we all know that Baganda are very passionate about coffee, generally.
Well, understandably,
yes.
because as I have said, it was the biggest driver of the economy in Buganda.
Yes.
And
Even
continues
up to
to be a major source of wealth, even in Buganda today. But it's not the only one. And that is, I think, where indeed the ill motives can be derived. That, you know, this is the coffee attack is directed at weakening Buganda. I think that's one of the mishap would point to the real motives, because you see, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Museveni, whereas you know he has been endlessly talking about non-sectarianism as a value of the NRM.
Yes.
Everyone who has followed his work knows that his actions have been the most sectarian anyone can find anywhere. So and you know, forget about what he says. Look at what he does, and so you know, Buganda's economy, rural economy, has been largely weakened. Of course, part of the weakening was due to the war, but following that, it is partly because the infrastructure for that rural economy was destroyed. The cooperative movement, you know, the Wamala Cooperative,
Yes.
East and West Mengo Cooperative, and so on, were destroyed, and the fertility of the land in Buganda, the extension service that went into the rural agricultural economy was destroyed, and hence the weakening of Buganda, and so for the bill now to be seen as a Buganda versus others in that context is instructive of whatever is advising the introduction of the bill itself. It's as if the bill is for or against Buganda, you know, and the Baganda mobilize, because there was a mobilize, you know, these Baganda do not. So if the biggest producers of coffee
Yes.
are the ones you are mobilizing to defeat, in whose interest then is the bill?
Is it for them? Because they would be welcoming it.
Because yes, because
Ideally.
because
If it's for them.
the North is not producing coffee at the moment. The Basoga hardly produce coffee. They are growing sugarcane.
The Bagisu are trying at least.
Yes, there is some
Far
coffee
East,
in Bugisu, as I have said. There is some coffee
Kigezi.
in Kigezi and so on. But by and large,
Yes.
the greatest source of coffee
Buganda.
is still Buganda.
Exactly.
So why would you like to defeat the interests of those who are the biggest stakeholders?
Who we are doing it for?
Yes,
For
the
them,
sta-
they don't want
yes,
it.
the
But for you, you're saying
the
by force.
biggest stakeholders.
Yes.
In fact, if there was anything, the vote should be taken by those who are growing the coffee.
They should be saying, because it's about them, literally. Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I get
so,
you.
So it's but even to come out and say, you know, mobilize to defeat them
Yes.
is instructive about what its real intentions the real intentions it means are not what
Are in this bill.
are written there. It means there is another real intention of defeating the biggest stakeholders.
So, Doctor, I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but it's going to pass. Because I heard even the speaker saying, do we have the numbers? And the Honorable Chief Whip also said, we do have the numbers.
Well, as I have
So
said,
what
as I
next?
have said,
It's going to pass.
as far as I'm concerned, whether it passes or doesn't pass, I don't think we'll shift anything significantly. That intention, whether it passes or doesn't pass, the intention will continue. The intention will not be protected or otherwise, because the Coffee Development Authority can only function to the extent that the government allows it to function. So if the government doesn't want it to function, whether the law allows it to be there, it will not do what it's supposed to do. It doesn't matter whether it's legal and it's there. It can also be killed while the law allows it.
Yes.
So for me, I don't think that the problem is the law. The problem is the intention, which we are talking about, the real intention. And that real intention will not be stopped. And this is why, I'm really frustrated by people who still think that there is something Parliament can do that will save the situation. It can't. The situation is not in Parliament. The
I
power.
would say the Pinetti was defeated.
No,
At least
but
they are trying to come back again.
whether it's
But Parliament's
defeated
trying
in
to-
law or not, it will continue. This is what, people don't seem to realize. That we are not being governed because Parliament is saying something or this or not saying it. We are being governed because there is a king, Mr. Museveni, who decides what happens, and that is what will happen. Whether it's within the law, whether it's not within the law, that is what will happen. And for people not to appreciate it is what really frustrates me. To understand that, all these institutions are now totally ineffective. They are not the ones which determine what goes on here. That is, for me, really, really frustrating. That even the Buganda leaders
Yes.
don't understand it even up to now. They think their coffee can be saved by Coffee Development Authority. It won't.
So whether it stays there, it's
Whether it
literally the
stays or
same.
not, that's what people should understand, And we have come this far because people keep on following mirages, following falsehoods that they are going to be their saviors. They can't, The same way, people you find say, parish development model is going to change rural poverty. It can't. Anybody, but they create all these things and some people start believing them and following them when they are absolutely nothing. So for me, and of course there is now renewed interest in coffee, or extremely focused attention on coffee, because presently the coffee prices are very high in the world. So coffee is very attractive and lucrative, and people are not looking at the fundamentals of how people have started processing coffee. I've been seeing people saying, the Pinettis you are talking about, they are already starting to process.
Speaking about Pinettis, there is a gentleman here who has just informed you. He's called Evans IM. They destroyed Coffee Marketing Board. Now Salim Saleh is building coffee factories in every district countries in Western.
But this is what I'm telling you, that the Pinettis are already here. under all kinds of guises, but controlled by, it's a family, it's the family which will take over all this. This is what people cannot understand. And even in Buganda, you know, the coffee that they talk of that is being grown in Buganda, is it by Baganda? I don't know.
That's also another question, by the way.
You know, so, you know, I get really frustrated by some of our leaders focusing on things that are, you know, very, very peripheral to the problem that we face as a country. You know, the capture of state of Uganda's wealth by the family and cronies of Mr. Museveni is what the country should be focused on. How do we liberate the country and our wealth so that we can have equitable sharing?
Because what you say is pertinent, and I hope Ugandans are appreciating it, because you can see in this country that everything has to revolve back to Mr. Museveni. There are no systems that we could say this is working. If it's fighting corruption, IGG is there, yes, in the constitution, but you have an anti-corruption unit. You will always find a substitute for a ministry itself, or something that is supposed to do it. And you paint a picture, and I hate to agree with you, but it's actually the reality, sir.
No doubt, but you see, you know, now the country is gripped by the debate in parliament, useless debate, far as I'm concerned, regardless of where it goes. But it consumes people, it takes time.
Dr. Also just
so
comment. I wanted you to just comment on the state, Anita Amongs, what's the mind behind our Speaker of Parliament making such partisans?
You see, like I have said,
statements?
it is, maybe it was simply maybe the will of God that the real intention of the bill gets released. So which real intention is to control the wealth that the Baganda think and hope to rebuild as Kuzza Buganda Kuntiko, because that's what to bring back Buganda to the top.
Yes, sir.
They will control it.
Okay.
You know, and that is and I don't think that sentiment,
yes, sir, is
just a sentiment of Anita. No, it's a sentiment of some discussions, likely influencing Anita to become activist in this matter, because Anita comes from Teso, there is no coffee so that she has a personal, so she's I think expressing an interest on behalf of the real interested people.
Doctor, thank you so much. 32 minutes past the top of the hour. This gentleman I'm with is called Dr. Kizza Besigye. Of course, he's a politician, a legend in this part of the world. Let me read a couple of messages coming in from you. Thank you so much for sharing them. And please continue sharing these messages. And if you have any question, any query, any remark, feel free. To message Sam, I'm following you, Dr. Kebi, and I love you. Emma Mulako, a leader not only shows the way, but also walks the way. Dr. Besigye is an amazing leader that will take Uganda several decades to get. You already have him. Tumusime Robert, so articulate, Doctor. Evans, those Baganda, imagine, what a shame to her. Nick Powell, #1 opposition leader in Uganda. Kato Jacob, thank you so much for watching. You say you're always with us, and we're always happy that you're here. They destroyed the coffee marketing board. Now Salim Saleh is building coffee factories in every district county in the western region. To message Sam, you say, I'm following you, Doctor. Emma Mulako, thank you so much. I've already read your message. Then I will just, for now, end with Pars Asingwira. You say, hugely grateful for meeting you on the discussion of the fruitful version of Direct Uganda to the correct trajectory. Maintain the resilience, Dr. Kano Besigye. May the Almighty God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, continue sending in those messages as we continue with the program. We have around 27 minutes to end this discussion here. Remember, You're still streaming live, that is on Facebook and on YouTube at The Alternative Uganda, at Digitalk TV Facebook page and YouTube page, but also Dr. Kizza Besigye's social media page. Doctor, I want us to come to another issue of the NUP detainees or members of the National Unity Platform who were arrested, and finally they were judged well. Let me say that. They're just going to be serving 3 months and 22 days. And this is on top of the time that they have been in remand. They were charged with treachery and possession of explosives. Some people believe these people were coerced, and of course their release was brokered. And of course it comes from a person who many of us can think is working, in fact he's working in the Museveni, a minister, that is Balamba Rugahari. These things are alleged, that he brokered the deal, and now they accepted these charges, and they'll be released in a few months from now. Comment on the release of these individuals.
Well, you see, the only way you can understand what is going on is again to reflect on who is imprisoning, who is trying, who is releasing. And, you know, once you understand that, then you don't need much in terms of analysis of what has happened. These were people who were arrested violently during an election campaign in 2020, some shortly after the election, 2021, and have been incarcerated for all these years, 3, some 4 years, since arrest without trial. And, you know, that in itself is a travesty. It's a violation of rights.
And just to add that they were tried in a military court.
Yes. So, you know, violent arrest and torture itself negates any process of seeking justice.
Oh.
Any state that captures terror, you know, I saw today that Kakwenza,
was awarded.
who was, you know, illegally detained, tortured greatly, not once,
Yes.
but on subsequent times, that indeed the court has found that the state was violating his rights, was acting unconstitutionally, and that, you know, they have given him some damages. But if you have a state that acts with impunity, because all those who tortured him, for which there has been that judgment,
Yes.
nobody has ever been sanctioned.
And the beauty is we all know, because we saw the entire process of him being arrested. Everything is on record until he was released.
Those who tortured him are known.
Yes, and he has mentioned them.
They are public officers. They are military officers. None has ever appeared in court. Torture is an offense, is a serious offense according to our laws, but they are above the law.
Wow.
So if, you know, and of course I personally have gone through similar processes with people they called the PRA suspects. PRA having been described as a rebel
outfit or entity,
force that sought to overthrow the government.
Yes.
So a number of us were arrested. I was the last of them because I was out of the country. They arrested me when I returned and added me onto the other 22 who were already in prison, who had already been there for years By the time I was added on to them, they had been in prison already for 3 years, charged in the military court, and at the same time in civilian courts. And, you know, even after I had been added on to them, they continued trying to try us under the military court. We went to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court ruled that it was against the Constitution to try civilians in the Constitutional Court. That ruling has also been made in a case filed by Honorable Michael Kabaziguruka, which the state, I understand, has appealed to the Supreme Court. The appeal has been there for years, never heard. But that they were able to get from the Supreme Court an injunction to stop the operation of the ruling of the Constitutional Court.
But they couldn't listen to it.
So they got an order to stay the execution of the ruling of the court, of the Constitutional Court. But in such a grave matter of violation of rights, basic rights, for years, I understand it's already about 3 or 4 years, the Supreme Court has never ruled, in spite of having stopped the operation.
That's the thing.
In spite of having stopped the operation of the ruling, it has not.
They've not listened to the ruling at all.
So, the bottom line is that, again, we are dealing not with administration of justice.
Okay.
We are simply dealing with junta politics.
Just on that, because you bring a picture that is really, really unique and actually true. In some cases, for example, let's go to Kakwenza's case. This gentleman was tortured, but he was first remanded, if you remember, when he was taken to court. The judge would see the bruises on this gentleman.
Not bruises, blood and
pus. And then you remand them back.
Yeah,
now a few years.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying we are dealing with the junta politics, where all institutions have been captured. So there is no judiciary. There is none.
I can bring another case of Kanyamunyu. Kanyamunyu
as
was
long
found
as
with a gun.
there is a case in which
court.
Those who captured the institutions is interested, the courts will not deliver justice. They are his courts. They are so
yes, sir.
The purpose indeed of causing them to surrender is not in doubt that it is not of free will. There is absolutely no doubt. I have told you the PRA suspects, of which this is a mirror. Because again, they grabbed ordinary innocent people, said you belong to a rebel group, charged us in a military court, charged us in a civilian court, no evidence at all.
Yes.
And then they started intimidating the individuals, saying, you will never get out, because we got bail twice from the High Court, but grabbed again by the state. On the second occasion, when the bail was granted, those who had just been granted bail were violently rearrested in front of the judges.
Wow.
violently rearrested at the High Court. 4 were taken to Arua and charged of murder of some person. Another 3 were taken to Bushenyi, which included my own brother, and charged of murder of another person who eventually it turned out has never existed.
Yeah.
But they charged them of that murder and held them on a murder charge, now separate from the original charges, and they stayed being charged with those offenses for another 2 years. And that's from where my brother eventually became very sick and later died. So, the use of coercion to extract confession. So, we were 23.
Yes, sir.
Only those 7 remained who did not seek amnesty. The others broke down and confessed and were granted amnesty.
See, amnesty is actually saying that we did it. Please forgive us.
Yes, released by the Amnesty Commission. It's after confessing that we did it, we are rebels, and they were eventually released on amnesty. But their co-accused who refused were eventually freed.
Same case with the Rwenzururu incident, you remember?
Yes. So, anybody who looks at these as trials, as administration of justice is missing the point. This is simply a situation where there is complete control of all power by the family of Mr. Museveni, and who use it wantonly to determine what happens everywhere. So if you don't accept to plead guilty, you stay in jail, as they have done for 4 years. And he keeps on saying the only way you are going to get out is to accept and I give you pardon. I am the law. That's the reality that is being confronted by these people. Wow. And so, for me, I indeed sympathize. I don't come in judgment of those who say, well, what can we do? Let's secure our... And it has, of course, a lot of consequences.
That's where I was going to come.
Yeah,
Please paint a picture for them, because this is not something, when you are charged, that means you're a convict. That means you did something, that's a criminal record.
Yes.
But please paint a picture for us.
The only hope for them and remedy is Article 3 of the Constitution. Because that's where the country is. And anybody who does not appreciate that is not, looking at Uganda with the right lenses. The country's hope and future rests on Article 3 of the Constitution, when the country has lost its constitutional track. That's where we are. We are not being governed according to the Constitution. Because the country is captive, has been captured, the Constitution has been captured. We are now in the territory of liberation, of the constitutional order, liberation of the state. And Article 3 says that all those who have been convicted while struggling for liberation will be absolved when the liberation is achieved. So all these people who are, whether pleading guilty, whether found guilty or whatever, on these political offenses by people seeking to restore constitutional order, they will be freed of all those convictions. And those who are still in courts and what will simply be freed once the country comes back into the hands of Ugandans. So it's not a closed matter that, some military officer declares people guilty or what. Actually, those military officers and all these people who are extensions of state capture may find themselves in the new dispensation in jail themselves for having advanced illegality in the country, for having violated rights of Ugandans. They may themselves end up being tried. And this is why people who are in positions of authority under the junta must be careful. The junta will go, but you may end up in hot soup.
Some people feel like those are just threats.
No, they are not. But we've been there before, This is not the first junta Uganda has had. We've been there before, and of course they need also to look at what has happened in other countries where juntas have been defeated. And this one will definitely be defeated. And as I have told you, in our case,
Yes, sir.
we already have it even within our law, Article 3 of the Constitution. I would encourage all those who are sitting in judgment of others, who are, especially on these political cases, you are right. I came late on this show, coming from Buganda Road Court, over a matter that has been in that court. Now this is the third year. No, I think we are now in the third year appearing in that court over trumped-up charges that we incited violence. And there are many such political cases. Those who sit in judgment of them need to take extreme caution, because they need to read Article 3, that things, when they change, there will be redresses to all these situations. People, whether convicted or what, there will be redresses.
Yes, I hear.
And those convicting them will equally be reviewed, So being in service of a junta is a risky matter itself.
You remember
it's not those who are persecuted by the junta, but those who persecute under the power of a junta end up in hot soup.
You remember the gentleman who introduced the POMA Public Order Management Act, and later the same particular act got him, and you're like, hey.
Of course, the Honorable Amama Mbabazi,
Yes, please.
tested the wrath
Of his own law.
even before Article 3 kicks in. But I'm talking about now a different. So even within the current
It has happened.
framework that you are defending, you may become a victim of it.
Exactly.
You could yourself be accused of what you are promoting,
Yes, sir.
So, I really sympathize with the NUP, victims of injustice. I totally sympathize. I know their pain because I have gone through it personally.
But you did not give in at least what kept you?
Yes, but it's not without a cost. I told you I lost my brother in it, so it's not without a cost. And so really, I must invite Mr. Owinyi-Dolo or Justice Owinyi-Dolo to redeem the integrity of his office as Chief Justice and cause the hearing. Doesn't matter if you, whichever way you judge, but this is a human rights matter in which he himself or his relatives or his children or what could be victims. Exactly. This is a human rights matter on which we need a judgment so that it is settled that civilians shouldn't be tried in military courts. Let's at least continue with the injustice in your courts, but not injustices under a law in which civilians really have no location.
Okay. Maybe lastly, because we're coming to the end of the conversation, in just like 5 minutes, comment on these traffic officers. There's people who are actually serving this country well. We have a gentleman, one of the traffic officers, they have been, trying to, support them, bless them, for lack of a better word, for the job well done. What's your comment on such an issue, but also comment on the slapping of the traffic officer, Awan Tusime Abdallah?
Well, yes, I mean, when one makes good deeds, they should be appreciated, even rewarded. I think the reason here it becomes even more prominent is that, for the greatest part, you have very, very low standard of performance. We are used to policemen who are the violators of the law, who generally drag the name of the police in the mud, and of course they do so under command. It's not that the police offenders themselves are the primary culprits. It is the overall institution, which I have told you that does not follow the law, does not, so if you want to survive in the police, you must follow what comes from above, whether it's within the law or outside the law. And that puts them at a very difficult test, because resigning may mean the end of his livelihood or that of his family. So, I can understand why police officers are forced to do what they do. Largely do terrible things.
Okay, doctor.
So when one comes out, and of course this has must also be said, control of traffic is not one where you have a contradiction with, with the politics. I would rather award one who, in spite of the pressure to do the wrong thing, they hold their ground and say no, and do the right thing. But this is in an area, in a territory which is not really contentious. But nonetheless, I fully, appreciate those who do their duty prudently, even at cost to themselves. Sometimes I saw one, I think that particular officer who was directing traffic in heavy rain.
Exactly, yeah.
Without a raincoat, without reflectors, So that is at a huge risk
Exactly.
to himself and to his health. And yes, to that extent, I think must be given accolades. But also, you know, one wonders whether the police cannot afford rain protection for such officers.
Yes, sir.
And the attendant protect us against the hazards of being in a heavy rain, against oncoming traffic, could knock this policeman. So, yeah, there is a debate about, you know, whether the policeman himself or herself would not be putting themselves in extraordinary danger
Okay.
while doing a wonderful public duty.
All right, thank you so much. Pars Asingwire, in fact, let me start with a gentleman called Muhwezi Rogers. Rogers, you say, live from Kigali, Rwanda, as usual, but from Kiruhura district. I request you to hear your reaction on so-called Minister Mao, who said that you are ignorant that fighting Museveni for all these years and you failed but refused to accept to work with him. I hope all you had what he talked about you. Share your reactions with us. Freedom fighter for all and freedom fighter for us. Then there is Parsa saying, we are grateful for the continued message of emancipation. People must know that we have fake laws, like the law which was passed during the time of Emperor Herod when Jesus was born. They passed a law to kill all boys who were 2 years and below in order to kill Jesus. I am therefore appealing to other peace-loving people to defy such laws. The juntas must end. Mr. Kawawa Tufaire, you say justice delayed is justice denied. Those people should be forgiven. Out of desperation, they had to make alleged coerced confession for the sake of securing freedom, struck their release. Then Paz says, Uganda is a country with many very good people, caring, responsible, with a very good heart. In all parts of Uganda, like the other police who tried to put order during the heavy rain in Kampala. If good people keep on talking, gather more courage. I think the emperor can be brought down. I think I'll stop there because of time. Doctor, react to those questions. Then
Yeah, I
give us
think
your parting
the
shots.
question of Mao, I didn't, I don't know which statements of Mao he's referring to. But, you know, if you say that I am stupid because I have continued doing what I am doing for many years, then if that's the view of Honorable Norbert Mao, first I think he would consider the former and past chairman of his party, DP, the Honorable Boniface Byanyima, who resisted coercion to join the ruling juntas of the day. I'm sure he would consider him stupid. But you see, we have different values. And struggles for liberation can take a long time. Some will choose to maybe tactically join those who have power. And the late Byanyima actually told me a story when his colleagues in DP were being coerced to join UPC, that one of his friends told him that he will not allow the UPC leaders to be the only ones to eat buttered bread, that he too will cross and share in the buttered bread. But that colleague of his was caught up with the other UPC people when UPC lost power, and he was killed while eating the buttered bread. So I wish Robert Mao well. I hope he won't be caught up like his former party mates.
Someone said, why you guys are opposing? Because you're not near the cookie jar. When you're near the cookie jar, you stop opposing. But Doctor, give us your parting shots.
Well, but I was a member of the cookie jar, so I didn't. Where Mao is going is where I came from.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Please give us your parting
it's
shot.
always a great pleasure to share some of our views, which you may or may not agree with. But we live in a country, as I have said, which is in a deep, deep crisis, as I pointed out in this program, that we are now in a country where all our leaders have to borrow everything they have to use in order to lead us. And we must not allow them to continue piling debts on our already tired necks and heads, living, ostentatious lives at our cost.
Yes, sir.
I think wherever you see any of these government leaders who are borrowing to come and do all kinds of things. The other day I cautioned one of the MPs who was standing in making a speech with a soldier guarding her. He said, how can you borrow to bring a soldier to guard you in your own village at my cost? So we must be really rough with all these people who are loading heavy burdens on our heads. But it's our fight for freedom, or we shall be in trouble. And we are now saying freedom for all and all for freedom. That's the new soundbite you are going to be hearing for quite some time.
All right, thank you so much. This gentleman is called Dr. Kizza Besigye, and it's always a privilege to have him on the show. But we're also privileged that you also join us from the
Doctor
time
is not my name. My name is Kizza Besigye.
Or your title.
And I'm not a title man.
Okay, but of course I'll still call him retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. I honor you, sir, and thank you so much for always being here with us. From the entire team, thank you Teddy Tenjo Navukera, who was on camera, and Mr. Mukose Arnold and Alibawa Ali, who are always in the production to make sure they bring you such a candid and beautiful conversation. From the entire team, may God bless you. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. This is Digitalk TV. Please continue sharing this feed to as many people as you can, and we appreciate those people who cut out the clips and share them on TikTok and other social media platforms. God bless you. Have a good afternoon.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.